Welcome to episode 232 of Empty the Bench on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. He's Tom Albano. I'm Nick Morgasen. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at ETB Sports. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you like and subscribe on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. And make sure you get our show wherever you find your podcast, which could be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart, Odyssey, all the platforms we are available. So if you don't want to watch the video, you can take us on the road. And my playback stream, which we'll get to that in a second. If you had heard my Mad Dog rant for the ages at the end of the Knick game, you would have just been like, "Bravo, I beat Mad Dog." On a rant. I was on it. But speaking of Playback, this show and the network are presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun than with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And speaking of the live stream schedule, starting tonight, we will have doubleheader action. I think that's the Celtics and the Cavs. And I think it's the Mavs Thunder series, I think is Thursday. And then Friday, it's Knicks Pacers, game 3, and Nuggets T-Wolves, game 3. So
you got it for all of them.
Wow. And I did that by memory, by the way. So make sure you check out our playback platforms. We are growing by the day. We had a really good first month, so we want to jump all over that as well. So, and make sure you check out our website, etbpodcast.com, where blogging content is becoming larger and larger for this network. So please check out our website, etbpodcast.com. Okay. We got a lot to get to, so we're not going to take too long on the pleasantries. A lot of NBA coming this episode. A firing, which we're not surprised by, and it comes in the big state in the West Coast. Just take your guess. Jamal Murray decides to throw heat packs and towels and everything else on the court and only gets fined. You will hear a rant for the ages from me. I'm warning you now, because I think that, shocker, Adam Silver got it wrong. So
NBA media rights updates. We've got an update on a story that we talked about a couple of weeks ago involving a reporter, well, actually an editor, and Caitlin Clark, a very weird press conference that happened there. A couple of little NFL stories. Rashee Rice getting in more trouble and not looking good for him. Tom Brady getting roasted. And then a couple of baseball stories, including one Aaron Judge being ejected for the first time in his career.
Yeah, and I'll give you a little insight from a business perspective why that was a bad move by the umpires, even though the umpires could care less who's playing in the games at this point in time. But a lot to get to. Yeah, we'll start with the firing. Lakers fired Darvin Ham after 2 seasons. Now, I could take both sides of this argument, really, and that's rare for me. Usually I'm very one-sided on an argument, but I think you know what I'm going to say. It's not Darvin Ham's fault. It's not Darvin Ham's fault, because this team is run by an ownership group that just completely doesn't know what they're doing. And they're putting the blame on Darvin Ham. That's the long or the short of it that I can really say.
I mean, what do you expect? We talk all the time about how it's a player-driven league. We're talking about a team that consists of a couple of people who have some significant power as players, including one certain individual. even though, as of last update, LeBron is going to opt out. Last we've heard, right?
As of last update, some asshole said that he was going to Philadelphia, but
Oh, what you talked about with Paul last time. Yeah. Yeah, whatever. But point is, the Lakers are heading in a direction that I don't think that ownership wanted. But you know what? At least you got a ring out of it.
yeah, in a COVID-stricken 2020 in Disney World where everyone was on a neutral site. Yes, because that's a real championship. But I can't blame Darvin Ham for this. Like the team was hurt. The team, first of all, LeBron is 39 years old and aging. Every time LeBron goes to a new team and they win, and he depletes every asset that the team has. Look back at the track record.
They were signing so many veterans. They were signing so many people close to him. They were, if I'm not mistaken, Nick, they were very tempted to acquire Kyrie Irving in spite of all of Kyrie's BS.
Well, yeah, because the two of them, believe it or not, got along as a duo. A scary thought. But when you look at all the teams, let's go back. In Miami, all the way back to 2010. Even though they put a core together in LeBron and Bosh and Wade, look at the guys they signed at the mid-level exception. Ray Allen, Rashard Lewis, Mike Miller. LeBron likes to play with older players. Him and younger players don't match for whatever reason, which is bad because when he goes to a team, he basically depletes all their assets to get older players. So, shocker that this didn't work, and now they're stuck with a roster with a bunch of old guys.
And I mean, given that, you know, as much as they're firing Darvin Ham, and it's not a surprise, Lakers should be thankful they even got to the first round of the playoffs.
Well, yeah, they were in the play-in, and by the way, it was an intriguing play-in with the Warriors. But and by the way, I don't think the Warriors were just a disappointment in themselves. But
I know. But when you have the kind of team that has been struggling the last couple of seasons, like the Lakers, and you manage to outlast the Warriors in terms of getting playoff spot, that's something. Is it a championship? No, but I don't think you could expect to win a championship with the kind of team that the Lakers had. So they should be thankful. So to fire Darvin Ham after this, I mean,
the coach always gets the brunt when a team stinks and just completely implodes. I mean, I think the next one is going to be Frank Vogel with the Suns, which when that story comes out, I'm going to have a ton to say because it's a matter of time when he gets fired. It's not if, it's when. So the way I look at the situation is they're going to do everything in their power to keep LeBron inside the organization. And let's be clear about one thing. They will do anything to draft Bronny.
There's already been reports that they're willing to give LeBron as big of an extension or as big of a deal as possible. They've already talked about, there are reports of a potential trade-up by the Lakers to acquire Bronny.
It's stupid. Like, all these teams, because I guarantee you behind the scenes, we don't know it, but there are teams that are going to reach for Bronny James so that they can get that last year or two of LeBron James before he retires for the jersey sales, for the ticket sales, even though, like, if he went to a Philadelphia, I don't think I feel bad for those fans if they had to get a LeBron James Philadelphia 76ers jersey. But if I'm the Lakers, I would just say, sayonara. I don't want you anymore.
At this point, Nick, I'm scared the Knicks are going to do something.
Okay. And a lot of people have been saying that to me. My answer to that would be why would you mess with what's going on right now with the Knicks?
Because it's James Dolan, and think about all the things that you just said. Ticket sales, merchandise sales. He's going to look at those figures and not a championship.
Yeah, but here's the difference. The Knicks have a young roster. Now, I know, unfortunately, they lost Mitchell Robinson for 6 weeks, but he will be back. I'm not worried about that. But this team is probably the most energetic team they've had in close to a decade, at least. And I would not mess with this. If I'm James Dolan, which team is he more involved with? He's more involved with the Rangers, right? That's technically...
No,
oh, was it then? Or oh no, he steps back on the Rangers and allows whoever's to. It should be the opposite. It should be the opposite.
No. As somebody who's more obsessed with the Rangers than the Knicks, no. Let's
or
keep
get somebody to run the Knicks. Like I know they have Leon Rose, who actually did a good job this year. I give him a lot of credit.
Hey, they had Isaiah Thomas for a time, and what a time that was.
Well, that was for a whole different issue of investigations.
I know.
But I don't know. This is a unique situation for the Knicks in regard to. I just hope they don't make a stupid move and say, all right, we're going to go out and get LeBron and we're going to go out and get Devin Booker, who wants to be out of the Suns. And they're going to deplete their roster, which is what James Dolan has done before when they've had young squads that could have worked out. I just hope they don't do that. But let me just circle back because we're talking about this. And Darvin Ham should not have been fired. This is not his fault. But the coach, this is how it goes all the time. It's never the ownership's fault. It's never the GM's fault. It's the coach's fault. And that's it. Like, what are you supposed to do?
That's how life works in the NBA, I guess.
And by the way, he's going to get 2 years paid. So he can't really complain that
he's going to get severance.
Yes, he's going to get severance. And so he'll get paid. I think Frank Vogel, by the way, is still being paid because he was the Lakers head coach, if you remember.
So he's going to get double severance.
Yes, so Vogel's getting paid, Ham's getting paid, and then whoever they're paying next. What I did hear,
so you're saying they're going to be paying 3 coaches, basically.
Yeah. Like. Oh yeah. No, they definitely will be. And what I hear from the whispers is that they are now finally willing to spend money on the coach, and they're willing to spend more money to bring players in. Where was this a couple of years ago?
It's the desperation of not wanting to lose LeBron.
I have 2 schools of thought. LeBron should leave, number one, and the Lakers shouldn't want him back. So basically, it's the double negative right there.
But Nick, they're going to do whatever it takes. They are going to be willing to go to LeBron's window. They're going to hold up a boombox, and that boombox is going to be playing "You Are My Sunshine."
No, it's going to be playing California Love.
I wish it was.
But if I'm the Lakers and LeBron James, I would say let's call it. What do they say when 2 sides just decide
amicable split?
It should just be an amicable split. I'm not saying either side should be mad at each other. I'm literally just saying it should be an amicable split, and they move on to a what do they say, greener pastures. So that's how I see that. But it is what it is. All right, picking up from that topic, we're going to move on to another topic, which has really been a sign of controversy for the NBA, and that is Jamal Murray, who has been fined $100,000 for throwing objects onto the court during Game 2 versus the Timberwolves. Not suspended. Keywords here, because we go through all the issues. They're down 0-2. I think Jamal Murray is frustrated with his shooting numbers in both games of this series.
Well, let's be real. I knew the Timberwolves were a good team. I didn't expect that they were going to come out of the gate against Denver like how they are. I didn't expect that they were going to just completely demolish them in 2 games.
Right. And we got to give Minnesota credit because last year they were great. They fell a little short because they were not ready for the playoffs. And now they were a 1 seed most of the year. They made it as a 3 seed. Who did they defeat in round 1? They defeated I'm losing it off the top of my head at the moment. But yeah. So basically what happened was they win their first series, then they go to Denver, and now they win the first 2 games on the road. And incredible fashion, by the way. Ant-Man Anthony Edwards has 43 points. And
Phoenix.
Thank you. And actually, I should have known that because that was a controversial thing because everyone thought Phoenix was going to be the runaway favorites to win the NBA title, and that didn't happen. Thank you. But then they get to this series. Everyone thought that Denver was going to beat the crap out of Minnesota because Minnesota had no business being here in this series whatsoever. And that just didn't happen. And Minnesota woke up defensively. They woke up offensively. Karl Anthony Towns has been good. Anthony Edwards has been amazing. And basically, what has happened is they're now playing good basketball, and Denver doesn't have an answer.
Denver really has no answer. Actually, they do have an answer. Jamal Murray at least has an answer, and that's to throw a temper tantrum.
Well, I thought you were going to say throw a heat pack onto the floor. That was his answer.
A heat pack, a towel, and whatever else he can find. He'll throw everything but the kitchen sink. Maybe even the kitchen sink.
I like that saying. But so this happens, and here's the incredible part about this whole situation: the NBA referees in this game did not see it. Did not see it. Your guess is as good as mine. Didn't see it. Didn't react to it. Didn't give him a technical foul. Nothing.
And if I'm not mistaken, there's multiple referees.
There's 3 a game. Yeah. Not one freaking referee saw. Well, or they saw something come flying on the court, but they didn't know where it came from. They thought it was possibly a fan throwing something onto the court. But last time I checked, I don't think a fan would have like easy access to a heat pack for their back to throw onto the court. That seems like an odd thing to have on you. So that happens. Everyone's upset. He doesn't get in trouble. The game is a blowout. He scores like 6 points the whole game. He had a terrible game. I don't think he apologizes for doing it at all, which, again, makes the situation worse. So the punishment comes out, $100,000 fine, which, by the way, that is a huge fine in NBA circles.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have to look at the salary that Jamal Murray makes, now, what you and I usually say, don't reach into the pocket of an athlete. But in this case, I am going to reach into the pocket of the athlete because he's making $29.5 million.
So what is that, like 0.3%?
It's like
3%?
It's 0.3%. It's nothing.
By the way, just for context, the maximum fine that may be imposed by the NBA on a player pursuant to the foregoing shall be $150,000. So it's $50,000 less than the max.
What? $150,000? Even MLB can find more.
I want to say this, but since it's the NB, it's the CBA, that means it's an NBPA slip up too.
This is unbelievable! $150,000 max fine! And I was mad during the game after I saw the replay of what actually happened. But...
Oh, my God! Oh, my God!
Oh, God. You know what? That's accurate, because that's the NBA in a nutshell. They can't control themselves. So, this happens. Then the controversy, and this was, Tom, you have to admit, this is a sports talk radio topic for the ages, this type of story. Should he get suspended? Should he not get suspended? And originally, I said, that's harsh. You can't suspend him. You don't want to affect an NBA team that's in the playoffs. But at the same time, the guy could have injured somebody of massive significance, whether that was Karl Anthony Towns, whether that was Anthony Edwards. And by the way, the NBA would have thrown a shithole fit if that happened. But so he dodged a bullet that no one got hurt. But my opinion has changed since I've had a chance. I don't watch footage on most things. That's not how I process stuff. I might watch clips and things I see, but I actually went back and watched the game footage to see where this happened. This was bad. He was attempting to get this on the court somewhere where it could have hurt somebody. So my answer, and it's going to be a harsh one. He should have been suspended for the rest of the series.
And that's not going to happen.
Of course it's not going to happen. Adam Silver is a players commissioner.
Nick, remember what the new SVP commercial says for I think it's SportsCenter. No, it's for ESPN Bet. It's the playoffs.
Yeah, I get that, but my answer is, what would have the NBA done to Jamal Murray if Anthony Edwards or Karl Anthony Towns got hurt? If that happened,
I'm being honest with you. I don't know what they would have done because Adam Silver is a players commissioner. I don't know if they would have done worse.
And here's the other issue. Because you didn't suspend him, you just said, here's $100K fine. I know you and I are thinking the same thing.
Yeah, so I was going to go to this point. I was going to go to this point at some point during this recording. It's a matter of precedent that now if something worse happens, the NBPA is going to go, well, you only did this for this, $100,000 to Jamal Murray for this, so you must go now with $100,000 fine.
And here's the other thing. We've seen Adam Silver over panic on secondary situations when a bad thing happens. And what do you think the NBAPA is going to do? You can't do that. You only gave Jamal Murray a $100K fine. You can't suspend somebody for this.
We've seen both. We've seen him underact when it comes to major things, and we've seen him overreact when it comes to things that ultimately didn't matter much in the long run.
I mean, dare I say it, because we beat it to death many months ago, but John Morant,
right?
That was an underreact to the millionth degree, and he still claims that he thought he handled that properly.
Mr. Silver.
Oh man, but I don't know. It's just one of those things where you're just like, all right, Adam, it's your call, I guess. You're going to be a player's coach. This is not David Stern's NBA anymore. That's a very dated
grandpa's NBA anymore.
Yeah, David Stern was not a player's commissioner. If you did something stupid under the commissionership of David Stern, you were suspended. And it wasn't questioned. Because David Stern had the respect of the players and the MBPA. Adam Silver doesn't get respect from anyone.
Well, Adam Silver is afraid of
emotional damage.
That's quite apparent. That should be screamed from the rooftops. Hey, Adam, what do you think? Emotional damage. I mean, don't get me wrong. And by the way, the NBA playoffs have been a shit show. Either it's been a close game or it's been an incomplete blowout for all the games.
So Nick, can you answer me this question since we're on this series? Why the hell are the Timberwolves and Nuggets playing games 2 and 3 4 days apart?
Well, part of that is because of the travel days. They need at least 2 days to travel, but I didn't know it was 4 days.
Yeah, I mean, the Knicks and Pacers only played, they played game 2 on Monday night, and they played game 3 Wednesday night.
That makes no sense. You're right. It should be, first of all, the rules should be the same for everybody, regardless of the travel. And when you go ahead. My question is, now that the Minnesota has won both games on the road, are you willing to do the Bill Plaschke and go, it's over, and that Minnesota is going to upset? Yes, 100%. I think this is a sweep now. And yeah.
You don't think?
I don't think Denver has a prayer.
Oh my God.
And I think Denver has fallen apart. I think Denver is in trouble. I think that their chemistry is off. They had bad shooting nights for Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray has not looked great for those 2 games. And that was at home. Think about it on the road. So
Jokic just got emotional damage during his MVP awarding when on the NBA on TNT broadcast, Shaq tells him right to his face, "I don't think you deserved it."
Oh my God!
that is funny. But did he react to it or no?
I didn't see anything of after that. I just saw the clip on social media of just him talking.
I mean, that's typical Shaq for you right there. I don't know. I think Shai Gilgeous Alexander should have been up there for NBA MVP votes. I don't know. Was Jokic a unanimous MVP or no?
You want to look that up?
Yeah, I'm looking it up right now to see if. But this is his 3rd consecutive MVP award. I know that. Okay.
He got 79. He got most of them.
Okay, so it's not a unanimous vote.
Not unanimous, but a significant majority. So
Jokic finished first with 79 first place votes and on 926 total points. Gilgeous Alexander finished second with 15 first place votes, 640 points. And Luka Doncic finished 3rd. And Giannis was the only player to receive, only other player to receive a first place vote. So, even though Giannis was never going to win the MVP with the amount of games he missed this year.
Well, Shaq told him to. Shaq told it to Jokic's face that he thought Shai should have won it.
And I totally get why Shaq says that. Look at I think he had a 48 game consecutive streak of 30-point games. I mean, this guy is going to be amazing. And I know we're going off track a little bit, but it relates to the story that if you look at, I don't know if you saw it on social media the past couple of days. Did you see the trade that was done between the Clippers and the Thunder and how Shai ended up in OKC? Did you see the amount that LA gave up to get Paul George? They gave up like 5 first-round picks.
I remember us talking when that news broke.
I was shocked, beyond belief. Like, I know that the Clippers really needed a star, but they gave up the kitchen sink, the kitchen, half the house. Like, they gave up everything, and it's not paying off because it's the Clippers. So, I don't know. I think that that Thunder team is going to be great for like the next 10 years. And on top of it, they have all those picks for the Clippers.
Yep. They're saying thank you.
And they're probably saying, Drew Bucket, oh, wait, we can add to what we have on the roster. We don't even need to trade anything for it. Oh, my God.
All right. Let's talk about NBA media rights.
Oh, yeah. So this was interesting. And looking at the deals, TNT. Well, let's go back first. ESPN secured their deal. Amazon. Now, the deal is not officially confirmed, but a number did leak. So it's $1.8 billion a year for the next 11 years for Amazon. That leak. Holy money! I mean, and Amazon, by the way, is stealing from everybody. So now they have, they have what, the NFL for another 10 years after this past year?
They have the NFL, they have the NBA. They get a Yankees game a week.
They're going to have baseball at some point nationally, is my guess. They have NASCAR now. They got into that business. Amazon is, first of all, let's be very clear about something. Amazon is not doing anything better. They're buying everybody away. That's what they're doing right now. They're not doing anything better than the TV networks. Let's be very clear about that.
They're just using their Bezos bucks.
Well, or I really don't want to say the whole thing, but they're waving their big you know what around, which is their money. So that's the nicest way I could say it.
It's
but
made of money.
yeah, it's made of money. So I don't know. So the big issue is now, and if you follow Andrew Marchand has really been covering these media rights deals, and especially the NBA, very well. And he came out with a column on Tuesday that said Warner Brothers Discovery chairman David Zaslav, who's been in the news quite a bit over the last year, because you start on these rights deals way before the deal is up. So he comes out, David Zaslav, who's the chairman of Warner Brothers Discovery, which includes Turner, TBS, all that stuff is involved. So he comes out, he talks trash about the NBA. And now Adam Silver is in the mess around and find out stage of the NBA's TV rights showdown between TNT and NBC. Uh-oh. You know what that means?
That means trouble.
Now, from what I understand, TNT has a match option in the last deal they signed. So let's say the number reportedly that NBC's offer is $2.5 billion, which is an insane number. Number. And if TNT says, all right, we'll match, then it's their deal. They get to keep it because they have a first match option like they do in the NBA. They have that. But David Zaslav has been saying for the last year that we don't need the NBA, which I laughed at. Like, are you kidding me, TNT? What do you mean you don't need the NBA?
You don't need the NBA with all the viewership that it brings in. You don't need the NBA with it being such a high money product. You don't need it.
Which is silly because
This is
and also the biggest pre-halftime and post show, which you guys have created. You get the credit for creating inside the NBA. You're telling me you don't want that on your air.
Nick, you know what this is? This is like the episode of SpongeBob when he first is in the tree dome with Sandy. He gets his first exposure, and the glass and the vase, glass vase is right there with the flowers, and he's looking at it, and he goes, "I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I definitely don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need it. I need it."
Actually, I think that's quite accurate on what's going to happen. No, I'm dead serious. What I think is happening right now is the I don't need it, I don't need it, I don't need it stage where he's like, all right, I'm getting it in my mind that I don't need it. And then he's going to realize, oh, wait, Warner Bros. Discovery is a public company with a public share price, which is going to plummet to shit if I lose the NBA. And then he's going to
what are you going to do if you don't have the NBA? What are you going to do? You're just going to play Marvel movies all day?
Well, they're taking on other sports. Like they technically have MLB on the TBS side, same company. They're putting NASCAR on TNT, which I didn't even know that was a thing until about a couple of days ago.
Well, we're going to do... I think MLB was once on TNT for like a very brief period of time. Would MLB just get a TNT slot then?
I mean, same company as TBS. So if they could slot it however they want to slot it. But
and by the way, and I know there are going to be fans out there where it's like, you know, they see that Warner's in that I don't need it stage, and you know what they're going to be like? They're going to be like, okay, and then they're just going to play the old NBA on NBC theme.
I can see that at the very end when the deal walks over. You know what? Someone should make a video where they're using the NBA on TNT theme, but it should be like a dramatic version of it. And then when they say, well, we're going to announce the results, who got the NBA rights. And then like when they open either the envelope or the box, it should be the hardball rock theme when it goes to NBC and gets its send off just like that. But this is bad. But I think what happened in that SpongeBob bit is going to happen here. Eventually, he might say, I don't need it. And he's going to, I need rights, and then he's going to go and pay for it.
So you think it's all a negotiating ploy?
Yeah, well, I think Adam Silver also. One thing I have to give Adam Silver is he is a really good negotiator. He knows how to get the money. Supposedly, when all deals are said and done, the last negotiating window when they had to redo the deals, they were $2.5 billion. They're talking about in total $7 billion in rights deals by the time all these are done. Think about that. 2.5 to 7 billion. That's a huge jump.
Mm-hmm.
But it also helps that you have Amazon in the mix that's basically willing to drunk pay for anything. And Zan and I talked about this. You and I have talked about this, that streaming is going to be the enemy down the line. Older people are not going to understand how to use it. They're not going to want to take a remote, turn it to Amazon, then they have to put on a feed, and then they're going to realize, oh wait, I want to go to a different channel. Oh wait, I can't do that. So Paul had a good point on this also, on the other side of it, that it has to do with rights fees and money for the league. So they're getting more money because they're greedy pigs, the NBA, and they want more money. Same thing we said about the NFL and Amazon. They want their money. They got it. Now they'll always be greedy pigs, but they're going to be greedy pigs. Yes, forever. And unfortunately, they don't care about the fans whatsoever. We learned that when they signed the Amazon deal for the NFL, you and I even said that they don't care about the fans because that's worse for the fans, not better. Same thing with the NBA. It's going to be worse for the NBA fan, not better. But the NBA cares about the bottom line. And I mean, I'm tired. Oh, good.
Maybe not a younger fan. A younger fan may not care, but decides to do anything they did with the Peacock deal, the Sunday morning baseball, that can be a problem.
Well, did you hear that the Sunday morning MLB package is going to Roku?
Roku?
Yeah.
Roku.
Yeah, Roku. I mean, it's one of those things where you're just like, holy shit!
Freaking Roku. My God. They must really want that Sunday morning time slot again.
I didn't understand it. It was one of those very confusing things to me. They're desperate for this Sunday package.
But wait a minute. So I have to sign up for another streaming service?
Well, remember, they were on Peacock. They had an exclusive deal with Peacock MLB for the Sunday package. They're just moving streaming packages.
But remember, I already had Peacock because Peacock has WWE Network.
Well, part of it. Now they lost theirs to Netflix, but
no, they still have you're right with Raw, but they still have the network itself, the video library.
Correct. Yes, but
but my point being, I have to get another streaming service for baseball.
Well, to be honest, I could give two shits about an 11 a.m. game on Sunday.
Until the Yankees get one of those slots.
No, I'm still not going to watch. You think I'm going to get up on Sunday when I get up at 6:45 a.m. every day to watch a game that probably means nothing? And also, they don't put the good games on that package. Let's be real. But long story short, I don't know who's going to get it. I think this is a stalling negotiating tactic between Zaslav and Adam Silver. And we'll see where it goes. But it's definitely not a done deal. I could see this going to NBC, even though I don't think NBC is the right place for the NBA. Even though NBC was the original rights holder for the NBA, and I know Hardball Rock and John Tesh and bringing back the theme all over again. But who's going to call the damn game? That's what I want to know. And will they move inside the NBA to NBC? Will they move it to Amazon? Will it be a hybrid? Like what NBC, because I think NBC helps production of Amazon on the football side.
And then don't forget something. What about Ernie? Because Ernie's already said he's not going to supposedly he's not going to get out of his Turner contract?
Because he's got multiple gigs with Turner. So that's why it makes sense for him to stay where he is, because he's got March Madness, he's got baseball. I don't know what else he does, really. But those are the two things off the top of my head that he's really good at. But that show will instantly the NBA will not be the same without Ernie Johnson if that happens. Something tells me, my gut is telling me that they're going to have to overpay to keep the NBA on Turner, and they're going to have to figure out how they're going to do this and make it work, because they have a share price and a public stock that they have to keep track of in that regard. So something tells me TNT is going to be back in the mix somehow.
Quickly,
yeah.
Quickly moving on. So Gregg Doyel, he is the editor that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. Well, I had that really awkward run-in at the press conference with Caitlin Clark, the heart symbol and all of that. So it turns out he was suspended for the last 2 weeks. You saw him still write for a couple of weeks after the incident, and then the last 2 weeks there had been radio silence. So as it turns out, Mr. Doyle had been suspended for 2 weeks without pay, and basically he's going to be back on the job Monday, but he will be forbidden from covering the Indiana Fever in person. He'll still watch games and cover them and do columns and stuff, but he'll have to do everything remotely.
Yeah, not surprised. The way that situation went, probably one of the more unprofessional things I've ever seen a journalist do at a press conference. By the way,
I said it. I said it on the episode, Nick. In this case, he was acting like a fanboy, which you're not supposed to do.
I mean, I have no problem with him being a fan in his local area and covering, but you can't do it in front of the biggest athlete that's ever happened there.
And you know what the problem is? This isn't some rookie journalist. This is a veteran.
He's been around for a long time. He's been around for 25 years, I think, last time I checked.
Yes.
So this doesn't look good. So he got suspended for 2 weeks. He's not allowed to cover any Indiana Fever games at all during the summer. Oh, I thought it was just that he wasn't allowed to cover, period.
No, I think he can do remote, but he can't do anything in person. He can't do post-game press conferences. He can't get interviews. He can just watch the games. That's it.
I wonder if he's allowed to write actual columns about the games without all the connection stuff. I'd be curious to see if that happens. But this is unprofessionalism 101, this whole situation. And I could say, not just journalism, if I was back in my radio job and I just went up to a politician and I started talking to him, that's not my place as a producer and a board op. Now, I saw many people come into the building, big names included, the whole time. And I was allowed to, we had the ability to say hi to people if we wanted to. And we weren't barred from talking to people, but you would never see me jump out of my seat. I'll give you an example. Nick Cannon came in the building where I was working. That was my childhood growing up with an unfortunate network that I don't watch anymore. But literally, the syndicated show I was working for, because I kept my head down the whole time. I was working, no distractions. The guy I was producing the show brought him into the studio where I was working, literally, because he heard me talking about how I'm the one who knew all the stuff about him, and he got him to shake my hand professionally.
Nice.
Professionally. Because that's what you do when you're in the media business. If someone introduces you professionally, you handle it professionally. Trust me, before all this stuff happened, that was a huge deal for me because I grew up with all those shows. But you have to know the moment and what they say the timing of the moment is. I think I made one passing comment, I used to watch all the shows. But that's okay. You can say that stuff.
fine.
but you can't fanboy. Like, you just can't. It does not work. And when you're covering a team, it looks like the team is paying you to do all that stuff. That's what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So, in my opinion, in my overview of this whole thing, good.
But also just know that, it looks worse, because you said, oh, it looks like the team is paying you to do that. I don't think the team was paying Miss Doyle to ask Caitlin Clark to give the heart symbol.
Right. That was bad. And when you're giving heart symbol as a media member, like, you need to look yourself in the mirror and you need to realize that you are more a fan than a media outlet member. And basically, when you're giving a heart symbol, like you were saying, it doesn't look good at all. So, in my opinion, and this is going to sound harsh again too, fired. Should have been fired. I know what you're going to say. It's a career. It's journalism. You don't want someone to lose their job, but you can't be unprofessional. Like, I've seen people in the radio business get fired for being unprofessional.
Well,
to people.
Was this his first incident? I mean, if this was his first incident, 2 weeks without pay. The without pay is what hurts.
I agree. 1,000,000% agree with that statement. But that's Caitlin Clark we're talking about here. We're talking about someone who is going to be the next coming of Michael Jordan on the women's side of basketball. Like, you can't treat that situation that way, because that'll lead to bad media from the story happening. So, I don't know. I think it was the Indianapolis Star, I think, is where Gregg Doyel works. So, I don't know. I would have fired him, but that's just me. All right. Let's move around a little bit here. And
let's go to NFL.
So,
let's talk about Rashee Rice.
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So we talked about Rashee Rice already a couple of weeks ago with the car accident, the car pileup that happened in Dallas that he was responsible for. I believe there was an SMU player who was also responsible for that, which was actually a teammate of his during his college days. Well, things have only gotten worse for Rashee Rice, who is now being investigated for assault. Allegedly punched a photographer or smacked a photographer in a Dallas nightclub on a Monday night.
Why? This guy does not learn from his mistakes. Is that what we're going to see his whole career? Like, he's just going to keep making mistake after mistake after mistake?
Well, you know what's funny? There was an old scouting report that was actually just dug up on Twitter where at least it mentions at least one NFL club passed on him for the draft last year because they said he's not a good person. He's got behavioral issues.
Okay, but this is the NFL. When has behavior ever been an issue for a scout? Ever?
Well, that was, Nick. I want to shake their hand right now and say, well, you kind of knew something.
True. I agree with what you're saying, but I feel like sometimes you know what you're walking into some of these situations where you say, all right, he's got a past. He's done some things. Like, I'm gonna use a word. I don't know if it's the right one, but a little bit thuggish, a little bit by Rashee Rice, a little bit. But
was not good, Nick.
No, but my point is that's the way he's acting. Not that he is that. Acting in that regard, because he can't control his actions off the field, is my point. That he's getting into car accidents, causing 6 car buildups. He reportedly, because we don't know the whole situation, had guns in the car.
Well,
reportedly.
You're talking about the drag racing.
Yes. And he was running from the police. I mean, this guy's got a reputation now.
And
so what do you do?
And Nick, I have a feeling that they were already discussing some form of punishment for Rashee Rice, and that's why the Chiefs made that trade up with the Bills in order to draft Xavier Worthy. And now, if that's the case, Nick, and they were already discussing a punishment when it came to the drag racing, that we said was going to be, 4 or 6 games, I'll probably get knocked down to 3. Now, if this comes true, and that's 2 incidents in Dallas in one offseason, now you're looking at half a season, at least.
Yeah, but here's the problem. The NFLPA is going to get involved and say, look at everything else you've done, Mr. Commissioner, how you've handled all that stuff. So, I mean, except for Watson, which is an extreme case.
Well, okay, so then let me put you on the spot. Let's say he has a third strike, one more incident during this offseason. Does that then put the pressure on the Chiefs to maybe cut their losses?
Again, the NFL is the most forgiving when it comes to incidents, including sexual assault and abuse, apparently, because they just don't care. But in my opinion, if he gets 3 strikes and you're out, he should be suspended for the year. That's just my opinion on the matter.
But based on what you just said, if the NFL and NFLPA aren't going to act or are going to have a whole tiff, does that put the pressure on Chiefs management to basically say, we're done?
Well, I'll answer the question specifically the way you asked it, which is there pressure on the Chiefs? Yes. There is 1,000,000% pressure on the Chiefs to answer. But are they going to act? The answer is no. They are not going to act because they need him as a wide receiver. So they are not going to act on this situation because he's the number one guy that they need. So unfortunately, they are going to keep Rashee Rice, as bad of a human being as Rashee Rice is, off the field.
They want the Kelsey Rice Worthy combination.
Yes, and they will do. Go ahead.
It goes back to what we talked about with Patrick Mahomes needing weapons other than Kelsey, with Tyreek not there anymore.
Yes, so basically, it's a hybrid answer. Basically, that the pressure is 100% on Kansas City, but they're not going to do anything. Let's just put it that way. So could they, if they go to the real court on all of this stuff, like if there's criminal activity, they might not have a choice, because if he's now, NFL players seem to get off in criminal court all the time, and they don't get anything that they're supposed to get because they have the best lawyers in the business that negotiate everything. But I don't know how they exactly handled the car crash, if there was a court case or a lawsuit coming from it. But the Kansas City is going to do zero, nothing. They're not going to give up their weapon. That's a poor choice of words. Asset, I should say. They're not going to give up their asset because he was a moron on the field. Unless he killed somebody, that's the only way he doesn't come back. But you could say the same thing about Lewis, right? With the Ravens.
Oh,
didn't he supposedly kill somebody?
I don't think it was a supposed killing. I think it had to do with let me double check this one.
That's why I'm saying supposedly. Yeah. So the reason I was saying supposedly is because I don't remember 100% how that incident. Oh, so he had murder charges. That's what it was. Yeah. And they never went anywhere. So, but my point is, NFL players could be on murder charges and the NFL still does nothing, which is what makes me insane and crazed. Because the NFL will, if you're making money and you're making the NFL money, they will do everything in their power to defend you. So
Right.
that's
Quickly, let's go on to the other topics. Speaking of wide receivers, we talked about the Super Bowl champs. Let's talk about their opponents in that Super Bowl game, the 49ers. And there were rumors heading into the NFL draft that the 49ers would be willing to part ways with either Deebo Samuel or Brandon Aiyuk in trade talks as a means of potentially trading up. And Lynch has now come out and basically said they've moved on from that. Deebo Samuel and Brandon Aiyuk will be on the team. This is especially significant because if I remember correctly, Brandon Aiyuk and his girlfriend posted those subliminal messages after the Super Bowl game that they were assuming that maybe the 49ers and them were going to part ways, and Aiyuk were going to part ways.
I mean, call me crazy. I don't know if those messages were really subliminal because it was quite obvious in some of the messages that he said, "I'm out of here" when the season ends. So I don't know if I would call that phrase subliminal. The girlfriend was being a little nuts, I think, but I think Aiyuk is going to be out because of cap reasons. I don't think it's just because of the team. I think they're going to do. I mean, I think they want him back. He had that incredible catch in the Super Bowl, by the way, which almost led them to winning the game. But I don't know. Deebo, on the other hand, like, he's a great player. He turned himself from just a wide receiver into a rushing dual threat, which I just didn't know he had that in his game. But the Niners, actually, believe it or not, are in a little bit of trouble when it comes to their roster. I don't know. How do you see the roster? I see there's some problems coming up.
I think right now they're fine. Do I worry that, after 2 Super Bowl chances in about 4 or 5 year span, that their window is basically closing? Potentially. Eventually, though, the money may come back to haunt them.
Right. And Brock Purdy. Who the hell knows what you're going to get out of Brock Purdy?
That's going to be the other question. And how much is he going to command?
First of all, I don't think he's worth what he's asking, whatever he's asking for at all. But
we don't know what he's going to ask for.
No, well, I'm being facetious, but at the same time, I'm saying he's not worth whatever he's going to be asking for. And, like, you have guys out there like Jordan Love, who finally came through this season and proved his worth. It took a couple of years, but that's going to be the more interesting scenario with the Packers than with the Niners from a quarterback perspective. But I don't know. The Niners have a lot of questions. They have cap issues they got to figure out. They have McCaffrey still on the roster. He's pretty much locked in because he had the contract before he was traded.
Yeah.
So they don't have to worry about that. He's also injury prone. People forget because he takes a brunt of the offense on both sides, receiver and rush. So I don't know. Lynch has a lot of questions to answer.
Okay. Very quickly, just Tom Brady comedy roast. I mean, I didn't watch it. I watched a lot of the clips that were posted to social media. There were some good singers in there. It was funny for what it was.
Kim Kardashian getting booed.
I love the introduction when it was Belichick talking up Breeze, and it was like, "Yeah, but it's not your time. Tom, come in here."
Oh, jeez.
And Breeze is like, "Not again."
I mean, I have to give it to Belichick, though. He was quite funny during this roast. And apparently he does have a sense of humor that we didn't realize. But
he told Gronk, basically, don't quit your day job.
he is funny. He's accidentally funny sometimes. But, like, just looking at some of the other things that happened, Julian Edelman was a hoot. Like, hilarious. I'm trying to think who else. I can't remember the comedian, like, towards the end who had that 2-minute roast fest of everybody. But that guy was insane. Like, he roasted everybody, including Brady and all the different celebrities up there. But did you see Mad Dog's reaction to the roast, by the way?
No.
He basically came out on the first take. You know how he does that thing where he gets like wide up close on the camera and he does the rant every time that he's on? and he picks so he rants about the roast and says it was completely unfunny, and I could have done better than every comedian up there on the stage. And
I mean, I love Mad Dog and he's funny, but I don't know about that.
And he also said Jeff Ross is not funny, and he said Kevin Hart is not funny. And I was like, wow.
That's brutal.
And he admitted during the rant that Netflix ran advertisement on Mad Dog Radio. So he's killing the thing that advertised for sponsored revenue on Mad Dog Radio.
And Netflix is going to go, bye-bye.
Well, it's over now, so that money will be gone. But this was actually quite funny. Tom handled it well. There was that one little weird thing with him and Jeff Ross when Jeff made the joke, the massage parlor joke.
Oh. Yeah, but you know what? At the same time, he did mention the deflated footballs. He said, hell, pay me $15 million, and I would have said that.
I think it was 20. But my point is, so everyone was reacting originally, saying like, "Oh, Tom Brady got pissed off about the massage parlor joke." Apparently, it came out afterwards that that was just like a crack, like he was like going after Jeff Ross, like he was mad, but he really was not, which kind of makes sense because these roasts sometimes are scripted comedy theater and they can be bad sometimes. Mm-hmm. Nikki Glaser was hilarious, by the way. She nailed all her jokes. Tom actually was a good sport throughout the whole thing. Including all the Giselle jokes and all the deflated ball jokes.
My favorite was the fact that Dana White was there, and they were and I forget who it was that talked about Giselle. And he's like, "Yeah, that's why Dana White is here, so that way you can learn how to believe a Brazilian out of half their purse."
That was the last guy. I can't remember his name. He was the talk of the roast. And I can't remember his name. I had it, and I don't know who it is, and I'm trying to look it up as we're talking, but that roast was insane. By the way, Dana was pissed because apparently they only gave him 60 seconds to talk, and he had to do it from a mic from his table seat. Like and of course, typical Dana fashion, effing liberals controlling my ability to speak. And I'm like, oi, like, come on, Dana, really? Like,
no.
But
all right.
Yeah, it was fine.
Two quick baseball stories. For the first time in his career, Aaron Judge has been told, "You're out of here." First Yankee captain ejected since Don Mattingly, and that was towards the end of Mattingly's run as a Yankee. Jeter never got ejected, and now Aaron Judge has been given a heave-ho for the first time in his career. He struck out, wasn't happy with the umpires calling of the zone, said something, and he continued to talk like walking backwards. So he was saying something, and the ump just goes, "You're gone." And Judge didn't realize until at first, like, wait, I just got tossed? And then you had Booney coming out, and I'm surprised Booney didn't get tossed as well.
Yeah. I actually think Aaron Judge handled that the most textbook way you could. You turn around, you say something, you're mad, and then as you're walking away, you could be mad as long as you're not facing the umpire. Like, that was textbook, the way that you're supposed to do it. But apparently the umpire woke up on the wrong side of the bed that day and just said, "I'm not dealing with you."
We don't know what he said. And unfortunately, Nick, if he said, we talked about this, there are those magic words. If he said the F word or he said the S word, usually for an umpire, that's automatic rounds for goodbye. Now, the problem is, during that game, I think that was against the Tigers.
Yeah,
I saw a Tigers player strike out and react worse than Judge did. So it makes no sense how Aaron Judge got ejected. And Nick, I try my best to always defend human umpires, the human element of the game, as we've talked about it with baseball. However, what we have seen this season with the umpires has been so bad. It has been so frustrating that honestly, at this point, bring the robo umps in.
I mean, the only example I can really use to say that there's proof that it works is during COVID, really. Tennis. Tennis went from having the three umpires, you would see them standing on each side, and what would happen was they had the robot system that determined every call on the court. I didn't even know that was possible, by the way. And now, I was watching tennis matches around that time, and you would just hear the automated system say out, or it would just say nothing, and then they would automatically show each ball hop after each point, and it would say in or out. So they kind of removed the challenge system, so to speak, out of tennis, not on purpose, but because the automated system was basically watching everything, there was no need for a challenge
Right.
because it was already doing
But you
it.
know what? But you know what? In AAA, they're working with both of those things now.
I
with
saw
the ball
it.
strike. The fact that you just tap and they get it done in like 5 seconds.
Well, and it's funny because in AAA they can turn it around in 5 seconds. Whenever you challenge at the major league level, it feels like it takes a much longer time period. You're just like, all right, we gotta call was it Secaucus in New
New York.
Jersey or New York, wherever it is. I'm thinking the NBA because theirs is in Secaucus. But they call, and the one element I do like that they added to the system is now that they put a mic on the umpire
Yeah.
that says, all right, we're going to announce the call. It's like football a little
Like
bit.
the NFL and NBA after review.
Yeah, and they should have done that a long time ago when the challenge system came into play, because you would see the umpire like make the safe call after the replay or the out call, or now you get an explanation of what goes down, and that should have been done a long time ago. But I'm glad they added that, because now it holds the umpires accountable that they have to make sure they say the right thing.
Well, let's make sure. Let's be careful with that, because given Angel Hernandez, given the controversies of all these umpire report cards and how they're calling games, accountability isn't exactly there.
Right. But I'm just saying, like, you hear it from their mouth. So if they make a mistake, they can go back and say, oh, this
Okay.
is what they said.
Okay. Fair enough.
But first of all, Angel Hernandez is the biggest outlier in this whole conversation. But because Angel Hernandez needs to go get an eye test and an eye test and an eye test and an eye test and an eye test. Because what is it? Like, some of the pitches he's calling are like 3-4 feet off the plate. And like, they're not even close. And then I love this. So they get a call wrong, but they yell at the umpire and they eject the player. That's always the funny part of that whole thing.
And they're so hurt. Their feelings were so hurt whenever people get pissy at them.
I know. The umpires are probably the most sensitive people on the field.
Somehow they have arguably a stronger union than the players do.
Which is sad, because I remember during the COVID nonsense, like, they had to go to that union and say, how many games are you willing to umpire? And eventually they got to that 60 game threshold.
60. Yeah.
And I'm like, are we kidding here? And they probably got their full pay, probably, unlike the players who had to take pay cuts for the amount of games they lost. But you know what? I wanted to say one quick thing from a business economics perspective, what this caused. And when you eject the best player, actually, that's debatable. I don't know. It could be. There's really two best players now on the Yankees with Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. But everyone is there to see Aaron Judge. As an umpire, you need to realize, okay, he didn't show you up. He didn't do anything. He didn't throw a bat. He didn't kick the dirt. You got to let it go. The fans are there to see Aaron Judge. So the umpire essentially has stolen money from the fans that are sitting in the seats. And I hate saying that because that's making a huge accusation. involved, but they want to see Aaron Judge. Don't eject him, because now you got to put in some bench player, because I haven't really been following
they had to put in Trent Grisham.
Oh, boy. That's a huge difference, though.
Mm-hmm.
No, and no offense to Trent Grisham, but no one's there to see Trent Grisham.
Well, fortunately, it was at the 7th inning, so it was getting closer to the end of the game. But if the Tigers had made a comeback, people would say that Judge being out there could have maybe made a difference.
Exactly. And as I said, from a business economics standpoint, you can't, if he doesn't show you up, the umpire's got to let that go. Like, seriously. Because also you're hurting ratings for your sport by doing that.
Well, like I said, also there were Tiger players who reacted just as bad. So how did they stay in the game?
Umpires.
I'm of the mindset that umpire wanted to be the first to eject Judge, and he got the opportunity to do so, and he did so.
Well, you'll never get a admittance to that by any means, but it's funny how umpires and referees across professional sports act. Like, I'll give you an example quickly in the NBA with Luka Doncic, where Luka Doncic has basically gained a reputation that he argues every foul call in the NBA on himself. So what do you think the Referees Association and the NBA has told the referees because of that? If you had to take a guess.
To not call anything on him?
He basically said, don't interact with him when possible and call less fouls on Luka because he argues everything. Which, I don't know if I agree with that last part, by the way, but I understand why the NBA and the NBA Refs Association would be mad, because if he's arguing everything. You don't want a guy who argues everything. The problem is he's a star. So now you have another issue in that regard. Because you're not going to say, all right, Luka, we're tossing you out of the game. And by the way, that would be a shit show for Mavs fans, because they don't have, I mean, they have Kyrie Irving, whatever, but no one's there to see Kyrie Irving. They're there to see Luka Doncic put up 45, 50 points and have an amazing game. So that's how I would compare it.
Okay, one last story very quickly. I hate saying very quickly because it's a very big trade that happened, but we got to finish up. We're almost out of time here. Luis Arraez has been traded already by the Marlins, sent over to San Diego on a 5-player deal. I mean, with how bad that the Marlins season has gone, we've heard reports when they had that winless streak that they were already considering a fire sale. And at this point now, Arraez, just a couple of seasons after leading the major league as the batting champion, he now finds himself already out of Miami and onto San Diego.
Dare I say this has the renderings of the 2003 Marlins a little bit here?
Well,
fire sale?
That they reached the playoffs just a year or two ago, and now all of a sudden now everything's falling apart for them.
No, but I'm saying, like, it has that vibe a little bit where, like, they come off a decent year, or actually they won the World Series, and they fire everybody, they sell everybody. But this is a little different because the Marlins are not a good team right now. But they don't even try. We're in May. The first or second week of May.
And you had the opportunity to trade people in the offseason. You didn't do it. Then you went on a winless streak and
sounds like the Oakland A's. Which, by the way,
the Oakland A's are actually on a winning streak and have the best closer in baseball.
I was going to say, dare I say that the Oakland A's are the form of Major League, the movie?
I've talked about that before, and now it's even worse.
No, I'm agreeing with you, saying like they're the new Major League of 2024.
The difference is there's going to be nothing that saves them. They're going to Sacramento. Sacramento, there I go.
But no one expected Oakland, by the way, to be this possible wild card team in an expanded format.
And nobody expected Arraez to be traded in May.
Well, that's the one thing about baseball that I guess keeps people in tune, that surprises happen. You never know when it's going to happen. but the Marlins have a history of this. They trade their big players when they can. Look at Stanton, ironically enough, from the Marlins to the Yankees. And over the years, they've done a ton trading players away. Pudge was one way back when. Did they trade Delgado, or was he a free agent out of the Marlins?
I don't
when
remember.
He moved?
I don't remember. What about Beckett?
Was Beckett traded to the Red Sox from the Marlins? I
want to say he was traded.
I know he went to the Red Sox, but I'm trying to remember if he. Yes, it was
November 2005. They acquired Mike Lowell and Josh Beckett.
Yeah, that was a big deal at the time for the Red Sox also, because that was two veteran players going from a Marlins team which stunk to a Red Sox team that was actually trying to compete.
Yeah. And Beckett ended up being a piece for them in the 07 series, I think.
And then Beckett goes off to the Dodgers, and that was a complete shit show. And
well, you know what? He got 2 World Series rings out of his career, so.
Well, he was on the 03 Marlins, right?
Yeah, the 03 Marlins and the 07 Sox.
It's not a bad combination of rings, but this is not a surprise. If you were about to ask me, is this a surprise? It's not a surprise. Because the Marlins, what are the Marlins at this point?
Again, I just didn't expect it would happen this early.
Oh, no. This is insanely early. By any means, this is insanely early. And when I saw Jeff Passan say major breaking news, I was like, "Oh God, what's happening here? Like, we're gonna go on a lockout or something again?" I was expecting some kind of ridiculous news, but no, it was a trade. They're trading their best hitter essentially to what was the team again? The Padres. Which, by the way, the Padres shouldn't be buying anybody because of their debt issues that they had to take a $50 million loan to cover. But I don't know. The one last thing I'll say, and we'll finish up, is that what did I say to you when we were prepping for the show? MLB has been getting buried, and we're not talking about it. And then you get weird topics like this in baseball.
Yep. All right. Hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified of everything here at the Empty Bench Network. Make sure to go to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Help us continue our subscriber climb. If you don't want to watch the video feed, audio feed available wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Acast, and so much more. Make sure to follow us across social media at ETB Sports, at ETB Network. Go to etbpodcast.com for more information about the network, the blogs that just continue to be cranked out. Shout out to Playback, our official sponsor here at the Empty the Bench Network. Have I hit everything?
Yeah, I think you did. Obviously, we have our streams. Make sure you tune in tonight after this show. We have our doubleheader, Celtics, Cavs, and I'm drawing a blank all of a sudden. Oh, and Thunder. Who are they playing now? Oh boy,
Thunder and the Mavericks.
Thunder. Hold on. I want to make.
I got Celtics, Cavaliers, Mavericks, Thunder, Knicks, Pacers on Friday, and Nuggets, Timberwolves on Friday.
Thank you. Yeah, that's what I meant to say.
I think you're done.
Yeah, I think I'm a little tired too. So are you. So for Tom Albano, I'm Nick Morgasen. This has been episode 232 of Empty the Bench. Hopefully we will be all good on the same page, and we'll be back for episode 233. We should be almost third round of the NBA playoffs by the time we come back. So hopefully we'll get on that front. So again, for Tom Albano, I'm Nick Morgasen. We'll see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Take care, all.